It's 3 in the morning. A phone screen lights up a dark bedroom. On it, a single number in red. $730,165. An email spells it out. Immediate action required. Send $178,612.73 by next Wednesday. The person reading it is 20 years old. He has no job. A month earlier, the most money he had ever handled was a few $1,000s, saved up from birthday gifts and a summer spent as a lifeguard. He types a message to the company that runs the app, asking for help. He sends it 3 times. No person ever answers. This is the story of Alex Kearns, and the number burning on his screen that night was not real. He did not owe that money. To understand how a college student ended up staring at a debt that did not exist, and why no human was there to tell him, you have to understand what his app was quietly hiding from him. He left a note, in it one question, and the answer to that question would take a lawsuit, the largest fine in the history of America's stock market watchdog, and a hearing inside the United States Congress to fully arrive. Alex Kearns was from Naperville, Illinois, a sophomore in college studying business. When the pandemic shut everything down in 2020, he came home, like millions of other students. By every account, he was a careful, thoughtful kid, the kind of person who read about money because he genuinely wanted to understand how it worked. He had been using a phone app called Robinhood. Robinhood lets ordinary people buy and sell tiny slivers of companies called stocks, right from their phones. No fee, no paperwork, just a tap. What happened to Alex was not really a story about one bad bet. It grew into something far bigger. Within a year, the company behind the app would be forced to pay the largest penalty ever handed down by the group that polices America's stock market. It would be questioned by Congress, and it would quietly rebuild the very screens Alex had been staring at. But in the summer of 2020, none of that had happened yet. There was only a young man, a phone, and a number that made no sense. To understand that night, you first have to understand the app. Robinhood was built to feel easy, friendly. When you finished a trade, the screen sometimes erupted in confetti, as if you just won a prize. Buying a piece of a company took seconds. It felt less like walking into a bank and more like playing a game on your phone. Alex started small, with money that was truly his own. But over time, the app let him do something more complicated. It let him trade what are called options. Here's the simplest way to picture an option. A regular stock is a small piece of a company that you own. An option is not that. An option is a bet, a contract that pays off if a price moves the way you guessed, up or down by a certain date. Options can multiply your money quickly. They can also wipe it out just as quickly. They are, by design, one of the riskiest tools in all of investing. Professionals handle them with care. In most places, you're expected to prove you know what you're doing before a company will even let you touch them. The app asked Alex a handful of questions. Then it approved him. A 20-year-old with no income was now cleared to place bets that could control hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that sets up the single trade that would change everything. The trade Alex made was built on 2 pieces that were designed to work together. Think of it like this. The first piece was a promise. If a certain price fell far enough, Alex could be forced to buy a large pile of shares. A very big bill. The second piece was protection. It was built to cancel out the first. If that scary bill ever came due, the second piece would cover nearly all of it. On paper, the 2 pieces locked together, and the most Alex could actually lose was small. That's the whole point. 2 pieces balanced. The dangerous half was never supposed to travel alone. So how does a bet with built-in protection turn into a number with a minus sign and 6 digits behind it? The answer has almost nothing to do with the bet itself. It has everything to do with how the app added things up. It's the night of June 11th, 2020. One piece of Alex's trade goes through, the scary piece. The app now shows what it would cost to buy that huge pile of shares, an enormous number in red. But the second piece, the protection, hasn't been processed yet. Its paperwork hasn't cleared. So, for a stretch of hours, the app shows only half the picture. It shows the cost. It does not show the protection that cancels the cost out. To the app, in that moment, it looks like Alex owes a fortune. To Alex, staring at his phone in the dark, it doesn't look like a mistake. It looks like the truth. At 11:01 at night, an email arrives. His account is restricted. Minutes later, another. He needs to buy more than $700,000 in shares. Then at 3:26 in the morning, the worst one. Immediate action required. A demand to hand over more than $178,000, money the app said he had borrowed within days. He does what almost any of us would do. He goes looking for a person, a phone number, a human being who can glance at the screen and say, "Hold on, this isn't right." There is no one. He writes to the company's help address. He explains that he's been charged for far more than he should have been, that the protection he bought was supposed to cover it. "Could someone please look into this?" he asks. He sends it 3 times. The only reply is a machine. "Thanks for reaching out. Our response may be delayed." Alex Kearns died that night. He was 20 years old. No one can ever know every reason a person reaches that point. But this much is on the record. In his final hours, Alex believed he had lost and owed a fortune he could not possibly repay, and the number that told him so was never real. The day after he died, the app sent one final automatic message. "Great news," it began. His restrictions had been lifted. As far as the machine was concerned, the problem was solved. Alex's family found the note. In it, that one question in his own words. How was a 20-year-old with no income allowed to take on almost $1 million of risk? He had believed, he wrote, that he was only ever risking money he actually owned. His cousin, an investor named Bill Brewster, shared the story online. Within days, it was everywhere. If you followed this far, you already know what this channel does. It follows the money all the way down to the people it finally lands on. Subscribing is what keeps these stories coming. And then the slow machinery of accountability began to turn. In early 2021, Alex's parents sued Robinhood for wrongful death. Then came the regulator, the group that polices America's stock market. In June of 2021, it fined Robinhood about $70 million. And in its official ruling, without ever naming him, the regulator described Alex's exact situation. It wrote of a 20-year-old customer who had turned borrowing off, who died believing he owed money he did not, after being shown an inaccurate negative balance by the app. In writing, on the public record, the watchdog confirmed what Alex's family already knew. The number was wrong. Congress took it up too. In a hearing, a congressman played the recording that greeted anyone who tried to call Robinhood for help back then. A 12-second message that simply hung up on the caller. Robinhood's chief executive apologized to Alex's family directly, and Robinhood changed. It set tougher rules for who was allowed to make those risky bets. It rebuilt the screen so the full picture showed up, not just the frightening half. And more than a year after Alex went searching for a phone number and found none, the company finally added one, round-the-clock human support. The fixes came. They simply came too late for Alex. So here at last is the answer to the question in Alex's note. How was it allowed? Because a computer approved him with barely a human watching. Because the app showed him a terrifying number with no one there to explain it. And because when he reached for a person, all he found was a machine telling him to wait. The number that lit up that bedroom was, in the end, a display error. One half of a balanced trade, shown without its other half. And this is the compass reading. The oldest money disasters were about hiding the truth from people. Enron buried its debts. A con artist guards his lie. But what happened to Alex Kearns is a newer kind of failure. And it may be the one that comes to define our era. No one at Robinhood set out to deceive him. The danger here wasn't a lie. The danger was a design, a product engineered to make trading feel as fast and painless as a game, wired into a system that moves real money like a bank, with every human being who might have said, "Wait, stop, this isn't right," quietly removed, so the whole thing could run faster. Shrink the distance between a single tap and a life-changing number down to nothing. Then pull the people out of the middle. And you don't just make it easy to make money. You make it just as easy to lose everything. To something that was never even true. That's the pattern. And Alex Kearns was the moment the world was finally forced to see it. For more stories where money, technology, and human consequences collide, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Alex Kearns saw a fortune he never owed. Abraham Shakespeare won one that was real. and it still cost him everything. That story is on screen right now.